I wish I were talking to you on more pleasant circumstances. Uh, I'm putting this video out here because, quite frankly, I'm fucking mad. Uh, the We've all seen what transpired in Butler, Pennsylvania. Uh, we could have seen this coming. We should have seen this coming because the Democrats, who have always been painting Trump as some kind of boogeyman, constantly using the terms racist and homophobe and all this other stuff to ratchet things up, using the term, the one that really is ironic is they claim he's an existential threat to democracy. And I really am angry about this because the accidental threat to democracy, the existential threat to democracy right now, I'm having a hard time talking because I'm so mad, is the Democrats. When they don't get what they want, they resort to violence. Every fucking time. Every time. They resort to violence. They start with violent rhetoric, and then it escalates to actual physical violence. It you know, and it's not even just that. It's like right now they're saying he's an existential threat to democracy, and yet you have a party who is trying to remove their candidate forcibly because he's not doing well. They knew what they had. They had a man with diminished mental capacity, and they're trying to remove him. Yet he has assumed that position through democratic means. He was elected through the primary process to be their candidate to represent their party. And now they want to take 14 some million people voted for him to become the Democrat candidate. Yet they're trying to remove him by force so that they could supplant him with someone else that the party prefers over the person that the people selected. That is a threat to democracy. A threat to democracy is when you have riots in your streets. The frickin' Hamas riots, the frickin' Rainbow People riots, the frickin' BLM riots. These are threats to democracy. They're not peaceful protests. When people die, they're not peaceful protests. When buildings are destroyed, it's not peaceful protests. Billions of dollars in the year 2020, billions of dollars in property damage done in cities, in 500 riots throughout the country. 500 riots caused over $1 billion worth of damage. Then you have what was going on in the colleges with the Hamas halls. That's the existential, I am sorry about this because I'm just so existential threat to democracy. Donald Trump is not the existential threat. That has been proven today because here you have a man who was selected to lead his party and someone tried to assassinate him. That's a threat to democracy. A threat to democracy is when you have a presidential candidate who has no Secret Service protection. And I'm talking about Robert F. Kennedy. For Christ's sake, his uncle and his dad were both assassinated. You know, he has no protection. I bet he will after today. I bet he will after today. And there were people moving wanted to remove Trump's Secret Service protection after he got convicted. Now, that's another thing. What else is a threat to democracy? When you use the criminal justice system to go after your political enemies. That is the Democrats. That is an existential threat to democracy. What else is an existential threat to democracy? When you use your Internal Revenue Service to go after your political enemies, which has been going on since the Tea Party movement. People getting audited, people getting called, using the criminal, like I said, using the system, using government to attack your opposition. And this is the threat to democracy, not Donald Trump. When Donald Trump ran in 2016, one of the big things was about lock her up, Hillary Clinton, lock her up. It was just rhetoric. Did he lock her up? No, he didn't seek retribution against her because he won. He didn't seek retribution against her. The people who opposed him in the primaries in 2016 became his allies. Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio shepherded Trump's agenda through the Senate. And now Marco Rubio is one of the people who's being considered to be Trump's vice presidential running mate. So this crap about him being the existential threat, that he's going to set up internment camps for his opposition, and he's going to do all this stuff, that he's the embodiment of Hitler, that he's a Nazi, that he's a fascist, all of this stuff fomented in the head of some sick individual who then took shots at him today. Now, there's already conspiracy theorists going around. This guy who shot him was apparently outside the bubble, what they call in Secret Service protection. He was on a rooftop of a building that should have probably been inside the bubble, but wasn't. And there's varying people saying it's a couple 100 feet, couple 100 yards, maybe as far as a quarter of a mile. We don't know yet because the investigation's just started. Was this building searched? I'm sure it was. But did this guy gain access after the building was supposedly secured? I don't know. I don't know a lot of things, and I'm not going to pass judgment on a lot of things because this is a part of an ongoing investigation. But there are a lot of keyboard warriors out there, keyboard commandos on social media, who right away are flinging rocks. And this is the same crap I see all the time when everybody says they back the blue until something bad happens, and then all of a sudden all cops are bad. I don't know what happened there. The guy, from what Secret Service is reporting, they don't have an ID on the guy yet. He had no identification on him. So it might take a while. It might take not long at all if this guy's in AFIS for any reason. If he's in federal, they can tell by his fingerprints who the hell he is, the automated fingerprint identification system, and probably already have ascertained his name and who he is. And I'm sure the FBI has already executed search warrants of any kind of properties he owns or rents or anything like that. I'm sure those warrants are already being executed. They could expedite a warrant without one in paper in hand. So I'm sure that they know who this guy is and that they're investigating it. That's if he, there's constantly threats against him, against Trump. Hold on a second. There are constantly threats being made against President Trump. I had a person that I was calling that made a threatening statement towards him, and I took his information down and the time that call occurred, and I reported it to the campaign. And that was a week ago. And ironically, the guy was in Pennsylvania. that there are always threats being made. It's the ones that was this guy on their radar? Possibly. He also might not have been on their radar. Not all these people announce their intentions. The smart ones don't. They just go and do it, and that's what this guy could have done. The fact that he had no identifying materials on him. We don't even know if he was a crackpot or if he was a hitman. We don't know. And there's a lot of things we don't know. I know that he was at extreme range and he came within a couple of millimeters of taking Trump's head off, which means he's a pretty good shot. I don't think his aim was off. I think God's hand deflected the bullet. That's just how I am, how I feel about it. It wasn't his bad aim. It was God that got in the way. This guy, like I said, there's a lot of things we don't know yet about this individual. There was a guy running around saying he saw him on the roof, and he reported him to the Secret Service, and they didn't do anything or didn't say anything. Do we know that this is credible or not? I don't know. I know a lot of times when stuff like this happens, you'll have some yahoos say, I saw the whole thing. So they can run to the camera, get their 15 minutes of fame. If that's why we got to wait until the investigation is done. And then act accordingly. Do I think the director of the Secret Service should have his head handed to him? Fucking A right. The head of the protection detail, the advanced team, not so much the protection detail, they're with the president all the time. The advanced team, you're damn right. You got to find out who fucked up. If someone fucked up. Personally, I think someone fucked up because if you've ever been to one of these things, to any of these kind of events, there's counter sniper teams all over the place. They have people from the Secret Service, state police, FBI's HRT, there's people all over covering from rooftop to rooftop. I mean, I've been to the Wilmington rally, which was outside. I've been to the rally at the Reading Regional Airport. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. Doing my little Wookiee imitation there when I'm yawning. But yeah, they have people all over the place. Why that roof wasn't covered, who knows? We don't even know the distance, really, because we've heard varying amounts of distance between short or long. But some people are saying a couple hundred feet, some people are saying a couple hundred yards. Either way, it was a long shot. He was definitely taken out very quickly by the Secret Service's counter sniper team. So that we are very grateful for. We should do a lot of praying tonight. Get your butts to church tomorrow. Certainly, God willing, I'll be there at Crossroads. Lot to be thankful for today. He's alive. You got a Nick Deer. They'll probably be doing some plastic surgery on that, and he'll probably be bandaged up at the convention. That's another thing. The convention's coming up. I have friends that are already up there, and I'm worried about them because I've been told by people that Antifa is showing up there, busload after busload, And there's bound to be violence there if Antifa is there. If Antifa is there, there will be violence. You got to remember, before Trump was even president, they were rioting against him. They had to cancel a rally in Chicago because they were literally turning over and burning police cars. And somebody was handing out T-shirts. This was in 2016 rather. So before Trump was even president, there was this massive riot up in Chicago, and people got assaulted that were at the rally at Chicago at this university facility, and and then there was somebody who was, I think, HRC people were handing out Bernie Sanders T-shirts to the rioters, trying to make it look like it was organized by Bernie's supporters. But yeah, that was in Chicago. And then the day Trump took office, there were riots all over DC. They set a limo on fire. They set some police vehicles on fire. It did a lot of damage to business. But all they will talk about is Jan 6. And Jan 6 really was not that bad in comparison to what we've seen during the months prior to the election. And in fact, there are still people under the delusion that 5 police officers were killed in the January 6th, when one police officer died of a pre-diagnosed heart problem. And they claimed he was beaten to death with a fire extinguisher, which never happened. And that he laid in state in the Capitol Rotunda, and people were still at that time saying, and they knew it was a lie, saying that he was beaten to death and he had a heart attack. And these other officers that supposedly died, no other officers died that day. Civilians died. One woman was trampled to death, and the other unarmed woman was shot by a Capitol police officer. But they, for months, even into that January 6th committee, they were continually putting this up that 5 police officers died that day, and that's not the case. But yet police officers and civilians were killed during the Build Large Mansion riots, which were an existential threat to democracy. Then you have the people that have been wounded and injured during these Hamas Hole riots. But those don't count in the media's eyes. It's violence. It's political violence. And then liberals resort to violence when they don't get what they want. They claim that Republicans are fascist, but yet it is the left that uses the tactics of fascists, of political violence, and fascism go hand in hand. Political violence and communism go hand in hand. Political violence and liberal ideologies are hand in hand. Stay safe. God bless.